that were a little bit late in joining. But hello everyone and welcome to Futures Webinar 4. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Johnny. I'm the Sports Development Officer at Snow Australia and Manager of the Futures Programs. Tonight's topic is Para Snowsports, and we'd usually hold this Futures program on snow, but obviously that's not really possible this year. So we thought it'd be a good idea to host an online webinar so you guys can have access to some information and have an opportunity to interact with our staff and our coaches and some of our elite athletes that we're really lucky to have joining us tonight. If you guys do have any questions throughout the webinar, you can either type them into the chat as we go along, or alternatively, you can raise your virtual hand. There should be a button down the bottom of your screen somewhere, and then I'll be able to come and unmute you at the end of the webinar and you can ask some questions. So I'll now hand over to Annie Geiger, who's the manager of our Para Snowsports program at Snow Australia, and she'll be running point on the webinar tonight. So take it away, Annie.
Hi all, and huge thanks to Johnny for putting everything together for tonight, and for everyone for everyone signing in to attend. It's really great to virtually at least get together, even though we can't get together on snow like we normally would in a usual year. So this evening we've got a few of our different presenters. This is really to replicate the same session that we typically do around our futures that we usually hold in Jindabyne, and we'll give you guys some information around the sports of para alpine and para snowboard. We have our head coaches for each discipline, Ryan Pearl talking about para alpine and Pa Sundqvist talking about para snowboard. We also have Leanne Rees, who is a national and international classifier, talking us through what classification is, how it works, as well as a bit of the process for this year in terms of provisional classification, seeing as we're currently not physically in the same room together. And then to wrap it up at the end, we've got two of our national team athletes. We've got Mitch Gooley and Ben Tudhope. Mitch is an alpine skier and Ben is from snowboard. And we're going to have a bit of a Q&A with them, find out about their journey through the sport, as well as to allow you guys to sort of pick their brains as well if you've got any sort of burning questions that you want to know about the sport from an athlete's perspective. So without further ado, we might hand over to Ryan Pearl, who will be our first presenter. You there, Ryan?
I'm here. Hello, everybody. Nice to see so many participants and everybody's faces that I haven't seen in a while. So to start it off with para alpine, we have multiple disciplines that we strive to go for in alpine. Our first discipline in alpine is slalom. Slalom courses constructed by laying out gates formed in alternating red and blue, red, blue, red, blue. Skiers must pass between the gates or around the gates, but we call it between the gates because the gates are set up so that you actually have to go between two gates, but you usually don't see the outside gate. Slalom is a very fast-paced technical event, and the gate spacing between a right turn and a left turn is between 8 and 15 meters, and it's a two-run format. And a second event that we like to really enjoy skiing is giant slalom, and giant slalom is probably one of the more represented events in the world for actual alpine skiing. It's been around really long. The distances between the gates is between 25 and 35 meters. It's a two-run format. It has a much higher speed than slalom and is a, a, a technical event as well. Our third event that we work on in Para Alpine would be Super Giant Slalom, or we call it Super G. Super G would be technically called a speed event. It's faster than Giant Slalom and slower than downhill. It's regarded as a speed event, and you can reach speeds up to 100 Ks an hour while having to maintain turn shape like GS between 35 and 50 meters, sometimes up to 70 meters between gates. And it's a one-run format, so it requires really good visualization and memorization within the course so that you know where you're going, because you only have one chance. Our next event will be downhill, and downhill is a speed event. It's one of the best events, in my opinion, for alpine skiing. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's a lot of fun to ski. It utilizes multiple types of techniques using mental and physical, and then just all over streamlinedness, which allows you to travel at speeds up to 150 Ks or even more, depending on the competition or the venue. And the big thing with this is athletes really need to be aerodynamic and want to go fast. If you don't go fast, you find yourself being extremely slow. This is a one-run format, so it also requires visualization and memorization skills a lot. So those are the events that we run typically in Para Alpine. So also at special events, we also have what is called Super Combined. And Super Combined is one run of Super Giant Slalom and one run of slalom. It all happens in the same day. So if you don't recall what I said about Super G is a longer turn giant slalom, and then slalom is single gates that are between 8 and 15 meters apart. So, and that runs 2 events in one day, but the overall time of both events give you the overall time for the actual race, and that's Super Combined. This is a new event that we have just adapted into this last season. So it's pretty exciting to watch, and it actually runs in a bracketed format. It's dual parallel slalom. So it's a head-to-head format, uses a bracket, and you actually race in a side-by-side competition, and it's a knockout event. Within Para Alpine, there's multiple levels of events, competitions. So you start in WPAS, which is World Para Alpine Skiing, in a level 3, which is basically the beginning level of racing. Level 3, or the lower level of racing for categorized racing within the WPAS racing. That was like the very entry level of these events. As you move up into WPAS North National Championships and then North American Cup races, which get you in the National Championship races are a level 2 race, and it's a race with the best in your field within your nation. As you go up to a level 1 race, which would be a NORAM Cup or a Europa Cup race. Those are races that are the highest level within the actual continent. So we will typically race some North American races or a NORAM race early in the season, and then we do typically race some Europa Cup races in Europe later on in the season. And those are kind of our mid-level races. And as we move on, the rest of our season usually will encompass what's called World Cup, and World Cup is a level 0 race, so that is the top tier of our sport, and the races actually happen all across the globe. So we travel quite extensively for these races, and work exclusively trying to follow that tour with the best athletes. And then every 2 years we have what's called the World Championships, which is a WCH race, and that is also a level 0. But that race is probably the accumulation of 2 years of the highest level athletes working at their highest level, competing against each other for what we call Crystal Globes, which is a very recognizable trophy around the world inside of the alpine community. And then every 4 years, there's the Para-Winter Olympic Games. And hopefully you guys all know about Para-Winter Alpine Games, but that happens every 4 years, and we have a team that goes every time to compete. So within our program, we have some training opportunities internationally, and we strive to work with a couple of beginning or development systems based within the United States. They're able to provide for us what we feel is probably the best situation for a development situation overall. So we have actual athletes that currently travel to both of these places, and one is in Park City, one is in Winter Park, Colorado. Both are great places to have skill development, race starts, and just overall skill development for the start of your careers into alpine skiing. So we recommend looking into their resources and trying to be part of their programs while also working with us during the Australian domestic season so that we can help facilitate you into our pipeline. This slide is our pathway. You can get it on the internet at the link on there. So if you can see the whole thing, we start with our pathway at the bottom, which is the foundation, and we move up through potential identification, which would be like right now us talking. We move to emerging athletes and work with the emerging athletes, and through those emerging athletes, we try to resource you to a couple of the places where we work with development, whatever works best for you. And then after you've worked through development and you become a podium potential, at that point, there's the possibility of working with the national team and traveling up to the 0 tier or level 0 racing, which is World Cup racing. And then from beyond there, it's continuing to work through your technique and becoming the top tier podium athlete, which is the pinnacle of our sport.
Awesome. Thanks very, very much, Ryan, for all your information about Para Alpine. I'd encourage anyone that if you have any questions, etc., please use the chat function, and Ryan will be monitoring that a little bit as we go through into Para Snowboard with Pa. So if you've got any questions, stick them in the chat. If not, we'll be able to hopefully get to them at the end. So without keeping the party going, we're going to move on to Para Snowboard with Pa, who is our head snowboard coach. You're there, Pa? Do you want to unmute?
Yeah, I think I'm here. Right. Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Par. I'm the coach for the Australian team. I'm in Norway at the moment, so it is pretty mid-morning here. Thank you for everyone to be online, and it's yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, it's pretty weird to talk to you guys first time into a screen, but yeah, it's the same for everyone. All right, Para Snowboard. Yeah, we have some different disciplines as well. So the first one we have here is snowboard cross. Basically, it's like a motorbike course on snow. We have a start section with jumps, rollers, features, been able to maneuver. Follow that, you have bank turns and separation features in between every bank with rollers, etc. Border cross is a pretty exciting format. Every rider has to have to do a qualification run where you get a time on. If you do well, you move on to the brackets when you ride heats, and then you ride 4 riders at the same time in the course. First 2 riders moves on to the next bracket. Snowboard cross really put all your skills to the test, because you have to be able to maneuver yourself through the course, and you know it includes rollers, high-speed turning, and of course jumping. So snowboard cross, it's a pretty high technical sports, and it's a lot of action and a lot of racing. But it's super fun. I know all the athletes really like to go snowboard cross, and for the spectators, it's a really cool event to watch. Bank slalom. It's kind of the same kind of course as snowboard cross. The only thing that we do, we take away all the jumps and we make the turn radius a little bit more narrow. In bank slalom, it's just one rider at the time that are riding in the course. And you also have the tighter radius, so it's between 14 to 18 meters. The riding time is around 30 to 60 seconds, depending on where we are. The competition format, it's also a little bit different. You have 3 runs, and the fastest run gives you a position in the end of the race. It's no jumps in this one, but the radius is tighter, and you really have to be quick on your feet. But it's also a super fun event. And this is also one of the oldest events in snowboarding, because that's where it's all started. Bank slalom, a lot of fun. And this is dual bank slalom. This is a pretty new event for the snowboarders. It's pretty similar to the Alpine. It's 2 courses that are next to each other. And it's also a head-to-head. This is the first one we actually tried it, so we only done 2 events. So this is what we're going to have on the main event for the upcoming seasons. You also have to qualify to be able to do the brackets. And it's head-to-head. So every heat, it's a 2-run format. So you have 1 run in the red course, and then you have 1 run in the blue course, and the fastest one out of those 2 runs moves on. So levels of competition. Well, we have, of course, different kind of competition. What I like to call the entry-level competitions requires no license or classification. This is events that you can find at the local ski resorts, like bank slalom events or something like that. And that's always a good thing, to get the bib on your chest and trying to race. And those events are always super fun. Next step is to go up to the more the continental cups, and you have them in North America, in Europe, and in Asia as well. For those races, you need classification, but you're going to get more information about how the classification works later on. The World Cup races, they are spread out on not all the continents, but all over the world. We have World Cups in North America, in Europe, in Asia, etc., etc. And these are World Cups are the highest level of racing as well. The best riders in the world are there, and yeah. And as Ryan told, this leads up to every second year we also have the World Para Snowboard Championships, and that's every second year. And of course, the highest level we can actually compete in, it's the Paralympic Games. So that's every 4th year. And to be able to ride in Paralympics, you need to do well in the World Cups to maybe be qualified directly, or also have the opportunity to have a wild card if you are a promising young rider to have that experience. And in snowboard, we also have the invite events. And at the moment, we have the Do Tour events and X Games when you get an invite from the from Do Tour or X Games to be able to compete there. All right, so where do we develop our skills? Your local resort is the key thing. That's where you probably spend the most of your time. That's where you develop your skills. Snowboarding, for me, it's just a fun time to be on the board with your friends. And that's what snowboarding is all about. You know, you're having fun, but at the same time, you develop yourself as a rider. Unfortunately, we can't be on snow, but the futures is a really good opportunity as well to have good people around you to help you progress on snow. We also have international camps in program. They're based around the world. We also have, this is more in Europe, but we also have the Agitos Foundation. I'm gonna give Annie all that information to shoot that one in later on. Agitos Foundation is hosted by different countries every time. And this is also a development camp where we have trainers from all across the world that helping the upcoming athletes. So when you develop and you hit the first Continental Cup, you already know a couple of riders because that's where you meet the new riders on these development camps. And yeah, of course, if you're going to hit the national teams, we have our specific training camps, depending on where we are in the season. If it's focus on snowboard cross or bank slalom, we in Australia we have going to spend a lot of time in Finland because that's where we have the best options for us at the moment, with good snow and being able to building the courses that we would like to do. But again, yeah. All right, the pathways. The pathways are pretty similar as the Alpine. You start off with an introduction, and after a while we need to see where you guys are, etc., etc. Everything is linked up to the athlete pathways on snow.org.au. Yeah. Yes, classification.
Thanks very much for that, Par. And yeah, I definitely encourage you all to go and get yourselves familiar with the FTEM for each sport or for your preferred sport, as well as if you wanted to backtrack, there's also the first Futures webinar that was held a couple of weeks ago, which is available on our website, actually does talk you through an FTEM and what it means and what it is. So I definitely encourage you all to go and get yourselves familiar with it, and then if you have any questions, coming to us and asking us about it. Well, thanks very much, Par, for all your insight on Para Snowboard.
Thanks, everyone.
Here, I reckon we're going to hand it over to Leanne Rees, who is our national and international classifying expert. So Leanne, if you want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Got you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation, Annie and Johnny, for chatting. And it's nice to see the familiar faces on the screen. It's been a while since I've seen some people, so it's really nice. And yeah, hopefully I can explain a little bit around classification. It can be a difficult thing to maybe get your head around, so I'll try and keep it simple. And certainly if you have any questions, please ask. And even if later on afterwards you have a question, maybe you can direct it to Annie and she can forward it on to me, and together we can answer that for you. But we can move on to the next slide. So what is classification? It's a very good question. It really, I guess, with the Paralympic Games, it started off as a competition in the 1940s just for people with spinal cord injury. So when the Paralympics started, they just had one group of people, all people who used wheelchairs, compete together. And then other people with different kind of impairments started competing as well. And then they had a class just around people who had limb loss or amputations. And then it started to grow and grow. And then you can imagine you ended up with so many different people with lots of different health conditions that they decided they needed to try and create more of a level playing field. So you end up competing against people with similar kind of health conditions or impairments, so that it's not the type of impairment that helps you win the race. It's based on training, athleticism, and skill. So each sport has a different classification system. So any of you out there, you might be classified already for a different sport, but it's important to know that each sport has its own system. So you have to do it all over again with all your different kind of sports. And it's similar to boxing. Anyone who might be boxing experts, I don't know, but you know, in boxing you have different categories for the different weights of the athlete. So you see classification not just in para sports, but you'll see it in able-bodied sports as well. So in Alpine, there are actually many different classes. You have 11 standing classes. You have 5 sitting classes, and then there are 3 classes for people with vision impairment. So in amongst all the standing classes, you have varying levels of impairment in the legs, in the arms, and then there are 2 classes for those that might have an impairment for the arm and the leg. Obviously then you've got the sitting classes, who are mainly people who use a wheelchair, but you can have people who have amputations in those classes as well. In snowboarding, we just have 3, so it's a big difference. We have 2 classes for athletes with impairments with their legs, and then we just have the 1 class for athletes who have impairment in their upper limb. So what we do here in Australia, because we don't actually have any competitions that mean that you need to have a classification, but we still go through the process because it's really important to first of all make sure that you're eligible. And unfortunately, not everyone with a disability or an impairment is eligible to compete in parasport. An example of that is pain. So we know that pain can be very disabling for people, but unfortunately, if you presented just with a condition that gave you pain, you may not be eligible. So we want to make sure at that national level that you're eligible in parasport. So then if you go on to the international level, we make sure we have everything in place and that there won't be any surprises when you go internationally. So we put a lot of emphasis here in Australia to get it right from the outset, making sure that people are going to be put into their right class. So you usually will be on snow this time of year doing the national classifying, but obviously this year we're going to be doing it all online. So once you have your national classification, and if you want to moving on, you will then have to be seen internationally, which is what you need to do to be able to compete at that international level. So you would take all your paperwork and you'll be seen by a panel, and any classification involves being seen by at least 2 different classifiers. I should explain my background's in physiotherapy. So normally classifiers will be a physiotherapist or a doctor, and they will look through your paperwork, do an assessment, and then allocate you into the right class. I'll stick on this slide. Thank you, Annie, for putting my slides together. I should say, so with national, actually no, we'll go to the next one because it talks about what provisional classification is, which is what we're going to be doing this year. So the most important thing, first of all, is to check that you actually have an eligible impairment. So as I said before, if it's pain that you experience, and unfortunately that may not be enough for us to be able to classify you. So what we ask is that we have a letter from a doctor that's giving you a diagnosis that will tell us that you fit into one of the eligible impairment types. Once we have that, it might be that the condition just means that we can maybe have a physiotherapist do some muscle testing that will also then tell us whether you're going to meet the minimal impairment criteria or not. And so with minimal impairment criteria, I just use the example, if someone were to be missing a hand and they were a marathon runner, they may not meet that minimal impairment criteria because it's not deemed to be that important when you're running a very long distance. But if you did archery, then it would be minimal impairment. So it's really important for us to first of all establish that you're going to meet that requirement to enter into the sport. And again, that's different between the sports. So snowboarding is actually different to alpine. So we do have some people that might be eligible for snowboarding but won't be eligible for alpine. So we want to first of all establish that. And then we're going to look at what class you would then fit into. And if we have enough paperwork, we might be able to make that call. But it might be that we want to see you over video, and it might be just with myself, but we have also 2 classifiers based up in Sydney. So I'm in Melbourne and we have 2 in Sydney, and we might do a video consultation just so we can have a look at you to see what class you will be in. And then normally we would look at you on snow just to see if what we're seeing in the rooms and we do our assessment matches what we're seeing up on snow. Again, we're not going to have that opportunity this year, but we will ask to get some videos so then we can have a look on the video footage and check you out that way. So that's kind of going to be the process that we're going to go through. I think that covers it. Classification 101. As I said, if you have any questions, please just ask, and I'm always available to, often chat with Annie around any cases. So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much, Leanne, for taking the time to give us a quick whiz through.
If I've made it more confusing or what?
Yeah, and it's a huge topic, and it's a really important part of the sport. So I definitely also encourage you guys. There's I did actually add these to a slide, but videos don't play so well through Zoom. Apparently, get a bit of lag. So this presentation will actually be available for all of you guys afterwards as well to on the website, on the Futures website, alongside our video recording of this. So please feel free to, you'll see these videos here on the presentation currently. Please feel free to have a click through as well, because that'll also, that's some resource, I guess, to get you guys familiar as well with what the classes are and what it means, etc.
Sorry, Annie, can I just say, please, classification's nothing to be scared of, and we just really want to, often it's the unknown about what it's all about. So as I said, don't sit there thinking, oh, I'm not sure. Please just ask the questions. And even if you're not eligible, it doesn't mean that you don't have a disability. It just means it's not enough to get into that sport, and that's just the rules, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that may change as you get older and grow, etc. So if there are
correct,
always come back and check in. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Leanne, for giving us your time tonight to talk all things classification. I know we're sort of starting to come towards about 15 minutes max left with us. So we're going to quickly take it to 2 of our national team athletes, Mitch Gooley from Para Alpine, a veteran, I'd say, of the Para Alpine circuit. He's been around for a while. And Ben Tudhope from our Para Snowboard program. And Ben is, fun fact, the youngest Paralympian, I believe, ever in winter sport or Para Snowboard. Ben can probably clear that up for me. Anyway, let's hand it over to Mitch and Ben. We're going to get to know them a little bit and Oh, no.
and play a video at the same time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
no.
You'll really see how the videos
Oh,
don't
they're
work.
all going.
Oh my gosh, they're all going all at once.
Here we go.
No.
Hey, we're back.
Oh,
Yeah.
here we are. I got it.
Perfect.
All right.
Awesome.
So we've got Ben there as well. I can't see him on my.
Am I here?
Hi, we've got you.
Hi.
Got you.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thanks, boys, for joining us tonight. And I believe we've also got quite a few of our other national team athletes online. It's always nice. At a typical Para Futures, we've usually got everyone together in the one room. Usually, probably one of my favourite weekends of the year, getting everyone on snow together, and it's just, yeah, it's good fun. But anyway, online version will do. So, boys, how you guys going? I guess, this season's already been a little bit chaotic for everyone in terms of snow and training and all of that. Ben, you're based in Jindabyne at the moment?
Yeah, kind of a funky old year we have had. But yeah, I guess I came down to Jindy last week for the season, and I will be training in Persia for as long as they stay open. As Pa is in Norway and can't make it down, I'm training with the development SBX team and trying to make the most of being on snow. And yeah.
Oh, awesome. So I guess probably to kick it off with you boys, where did it all start? Where did it begin for you? Probably go with you first, Mitch. Let's go with you.
Thanks, Annie. And thanks everyone for jumping on and joining us for this today. I know it's a bit different to usual, but it's really cool to see everyone's faces and get people excited about, para alpine and para snowboard in Australia. I started skiing at Mount Buller when I was 7 or 8 years old. And I just went through the ski school program, the regular old ski school program, and wasn't very good when I started. My brother was a lot faster than me. I was pretty convinced that I was better at skiing. He was just heavier, but he was a lot faster than me. And funnily enough, things flipped over and I ended up ski racing and he didn't. So life's funny like that. But I learned to ski with my family, skied recreationally. I didn't get seriously involved in ski racing until I was 15 years old, right? So I did some school races for fun, the inter-schools events in the meantime, which is really cool. They now have like a multi-class disability event as part of the inter-schools, which is really, really cool because that option wasn't there when I came through. But I guess that was sort of my involvement with skiing, and then I came through something that looked a bit different, but was probably the precursor to Futures back then, run by the Australian Paralympic Committee, which is now Paralympics Australia. And that's kind of how I got connected to Para Snowsports, right? Before that, I just used to ski for fun with my family. You don't have to be a die-hard race club ski kid forever. There's other pathways in, and I know that the other athletes on this call have all got their own journey and pathway to share. But yeah, Benny, you had a bit of a different side of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, how did you get involved, Ben? What was your leg into the sport?
Yeah, my upbringing was kind of very much the same as Mitch. Just family loved going down to the snow, so I actually started skiing when I was 3 years old, and then was influenced by my sister to snowboard when I was around 8. And so, got on that snowboard and kind of fell in love with it, but wasn't any good at all. But just kept on going, and through inter-schools, just got a bit better. And then the way I actually got into para sports or snowboarding was that I was training at just a local winter sports club down at Persia, and the Paralympic coach at the time knew the head coach of this winter sports club, and they kind of connected, and the winter sports club coach were like, yeah, I got this pretty cool guy, only 10, 11 years old, and so we kind of connected, and at that young age, I started to ride with that Paralympic coach, and just formed a good relationship, and yeah, kind of went from there.
Oh, cool. So yeah, so same, but different in ways. You know, with family, and I'm sure that's how a lot of others also do get involved into all sorts of winter sports as well. I think a very common tale, I think, is getting involved with your family.
Yeah.
So I guess when you first got, you know, you got classified, obviously got nationally classified, both of you, and then you probably went on to international classification. What was it like when you first went overseas for the first time to go and compete internationally? What was that kind of like? What did it look like? What did it feel like? What was it like the first time you sort of kicked out of the start gate, so to speak?
Benny, you want to lead away?
Yeah, I'll start. For me, it was definitely a bit different. My disability is cerebral palsy, and most of the competition that I'm against is amputees. Para Snowsports is very much an amputee based. I think there's only around 2 to 3 snowboarders with CP at the moment on tour. And so I guess throwing that in there, and also being so young, starting my first international season when I was only around 13, it was quite an exciting and fun time, but also that nerve-wracking, and didn't know how I would go, and pretty scary to see some of the top athletes that I was looking up to so much in the sport. But yeah, I still have really fond memories of that first season, and kind of the first couple of races, and it's amazing how much the community kind of pick you up and show you kind of that love that you really feel a part of a family when you first get into it. So yeah, it's a really good feel, and you just kind of love the experience and the competition as well.
How about you, Mitch? What was that first time like?
Yeah, I thought I was young when I started. I think I was 15 my first year overseas, but Benny puts me to shame. So, but I still was probably about as mature as Benny was at 13 when I was 15. So yeah, I went away to Colorado with the development team, and I was really lucky that back then, for that first period of the season, we were sort of living together with the World Cup team, and I had some amazing role models, right? Like I was only 15 years old, but the next youngest person on the team, I think, was 21 or 22. But we were also, for me, it felt like getting thrown in the deep end, you know, cooking and cleaning and figuring out how to feed yourself and do your own laundry and stuff like that on the road, right? Because I was so young, hadn't really figured out how to do that yet at home. So I was really lucky. I had like Benny said, a bit of a cool family around me with the rest of the Aussie team. And then at races, you're a bit of a novelty being an Australian ski racer. I'm guessing an Australian snowboarder, but I think we're trying to change that, which is cool. But as a result, you know, everyone was really supportive, and everyone's excited to you know, have Australians and Kiwis and people from a long way away, you know, and from summer nations getting involved in winter sport. So the whole circuit was super supportive, and I learned a lot that first year about how to look after myself and how to train as an athlete. How to eat, how to, you know, prioritize my sleep, and how to think about my sport, and how to really focus on getting better in terms of how I approach things. So yeah, it was a cool experience as a young Australian getting overseas, and also there was heaps of snow, right? I got to have a couple of massive powder days, which I'd never had in Australia.
Oh, awesome. So I guess like in terms of, I guess like let's have a look at quick chat about I guess your best performance to date. Like what is for you if you were to look back on your career thus far? What's your golden moment so far? Ben,
Mitch.
who wants to go first?
I'll give you some time to think, Benny.
Yeah.
Benny's won so many races he can't remember which one.
It's hard.
I haven't won that many races, so I pick it pretty quickly. Nah. I don't know. I like as an individual race, the World Championship in 2017 stands out for me because I was a long way sort of out of contention in the first run. It was a super combined that Ryan talked about earlier. So in a, I don't know how to explain it, but I guess I was in seventh after the first run in the Super G, and it felt like I was skiing good slalom, and it was a good hill for me, and yeah, was able to put together a run and sort of win the race from a long way back, which was pretty cool. Because yeah, before that, major championships had been a struggle for me, as well as just winning races other than from the front had been a struggle for me. So it was pretty cool to do that, and yeah, fell in love with an event that I probably didn't love before that. From then on.
How about you, Benny?
Yeah. Well, Mitch, I'm definitely not a world champion, so.
Yeah, but it took me 15 years to win one race, Benny.
Yeah. I think for me, two races stand out. One of them, which is probably the most exciting, was getting my first medal, which I think Pa said it before, but it was that invite-only event at X Games. It took around 5 years on tour to get a medal, and I've been watching X Games. It's kind of on a level at the Paralympic Games, and for action sports, and so I've been watching that for many years as a child, and even when I was there, I was obsessing and kind of fangirling over everyone and all my big role models and idols. So that's definitely still one of my most exciting. And yeah, most memorable one will probably be at the start of last season. It was in Finland in around December last year, and where I actually won double gold at the World Cup. And previously, unfortunately, my coach passed just a couple of days earlier, but the team really were supportive, and yeah, it was amazing that we were able to push through those hard times, and to come away with that result is truly a really memorable thing for me, and I will never forget that moment.
Oh, awesome. I am conscious, guys, we've got 2 minutes left, but I've got one last final question for each of you. If you were to look back at your career and look back at your younger self, potentially, 15 years ago, what would the one piece of advice that you'd give yourself be?
For me, I guess I'm still looking at it as I am quite young. I'm still one of the youngest on tour, so I definitely still have a lot to learn. But yeah, I guess back when I started is I guess, and I still hold this today, is just grasp every opportunity you get. Take everything that is offered to you, and with a positive mindset as well, because You don't know where you will lead yourself to if you don't take other opportunities that don't come your way. And so it's definitely to be open-minded and to set and have that positive and open mindset to be able to push forward and get out of your comfort zone.
Very, very wise words, Benny.
I was going to say, you're pretty wise for, what are you,
Oh.
like 7 years old now? Yeah, for me, along the same lines, I guess someone once told me that the main thing is to keep the main thing, and that's really helped me a lot, because I think, and that's what I'd tell my younger self, which is just to not sweat the small stuff and to enjoy the moment a bit more, because as Benny said, and I think hopefully you guys got the bargain of got on snow before, and it's a pretty amazing thing to do, to be able to ski all over the world, and we don't know when we'll be able to do that again, but even so, the opportunity to get on snow even here in Australia is amazing, and enjoy every moment of it, right? Be present and take it all in, and approach it with an open mind, like Benny said.
Oh, awesome. Well, thanks very much, Mitch and Ben, for giving us your time tonight and answering a few sticky questions. I am aware that it is 7 o'clock, and we did say we'd be wrapped up by now, but if there are any additional questions, guys, please feel free to get in touch with me via my email. I believe it's on there, and I'll also have up a bunch of resources for you guys, hopefully uploaded by the end of this week. Additionally, we'll have some information uploaded for provisional classification this year, as Leanne spoke about. So I will also upload those in the coming days. Get in touch with me, and then we'll hook you guys up in order to start that classification journey. A huge thanks to every single one of you out there, and I hope you managed to get on snow at some point this season. And that you guys, stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask if you have to. So thanks very much for your time tonight, guys. Very much appreciated. And hopefully we'll see everyone out there on snow next year. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Eddie.